Raleigh Score, in conjunction with Shaw University, introduces, Are you ready to start your own business? Welcome to the video taping of Session 3. In this session, we discuss the fundamentals of a business plan and understanding your drive to become a business owner. During this training session, Bill Davis will offer a bare-bones approach to outlining the fundamentals of a business plan, while Darlene Thorne will help you understand your why. This session will prepare you for what's next, as the facilitators start to dive into the subject matter in depth. To set the table for Session 4 next week, Bill will provide a homework assignment, one that will have you to start seriously thinking about your vision statement. During this training session, Darlene will begin to provide instruction on how you can dive into your why. She will help you tap into the reasons why your business is important to you, and how that understanding is key to your commitment and motivation as you move forward with your vision. So, relax, get comfortable, and prepare to take copious notes. And do not forget to register for Session 4 at www.raleigh.score.org. And as always, email any questions you may have to Ms. Patty Williams at patty.williams@scorevolunteer.org. Enjoy watching Session 3.
We are changing things up for this session because we are really getting into the meat and potatoes of the business planning. And so for tonight, after each section, section, we're going to stop and ask for questions, and we'll also make sure that any questions that we have in the chat box, Dr. Angie will bring those up so that we can answer those as well. So we want to make sure that we're interactive tonight, and make sure that you use that chat box. And welcome. Good to see everybody. It's great to see a lot of the same people. I hope to see y'all at the end of this.
Yes.
We'll have some
wonderful.
really great business plans. I've had a chance to have a couple of one-on-ones, and it's been really nice to see what everybody's doing here. So welcome. And I am going to, we have a resource guide that we just uploaded to the website. I'm going to send a link to that so that everybody can get to it easily. And this just has some resources as we go through the session. There's resources tied to each session. There's some pieces up front that are kind of for creative purposes, or if you're kind of thinking about maybe a couple of different plans, then kind of gives you some ideas of how to narrow down your business. But take a look at that session. It's there to help you. And it also has the syllabus in it, so that way you can see what we're doing each week. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get kicked off here because we have a lot of great content tonight. So as you come in, just keep adding your information in here. Every once in a while, I'm going to put links to the resource guide and the videos because I know that we have a lot streaming here. That way, make sure that you guys have that before we cut out tonight. But also what we're doing is as we have our conversations, and there is a really organic kind of flow to what we're doing, and as we're sharing amongst each other, whether it's us here that are doing the lectures or you in the chat box, we're pulling together resources that come up that we've shared. So we'll compile those weekly, and the other thing we'll do is we'll start to put these also in the resource guide. But this is a good way that if there's some resources that maybe you missed from our last conversation, or maybe something came up, like somebody said something about Upwork, and you're like, oh, what is that Upwork thing? Here's a reminder. So we'll be compiling this for you each week. But I am going to go ahead and I am going to pass it off to Bill, who is going to get us into the meat and potatoes of a business plan.
Tonight is the skeleton of a business plan. And over the balance of the weeks, we're going to put meat on the skeleton. So what I'm going to do tonight is take you through the elements of the business plan. So we're going to step through what are the various sections of a business plan. And the approach that I'm going to take is that the business plan's purpose is to answer key questions about the business. And so as I step through those elements, I'm going to share with you the questions that each section is intended for you to answer. But first, let me give you what those elements are. So first off, there's your vision or the big idea. What is the business that you are creating, or the business that you are building or growing? Then the next thing is the mission, and I'll talk about what mission is in a little bit. The third area is the market research. Then you have a SWOT analysis where you're determining what it is you're bringing to the market, as well as what you're gonna encounter or confront when you reach the marketplace. Then the financial plan, because business is a language, or the language of business is numbers. And that section will focus exclusively on that. Then you've got the strategies. How are you going to go about building that successful business? The objectives. And then you've got what I call where the rubber meets the road, which are the action plans. That is, what are you going to do, or what are the things to be done to bring that plan and that business into reality? So let me step through each of these elements one at a time, and again, identify the questions that you want to address in each of those sections. And I'm going to suggest, if you don't have pencil and paper, get pencil and paper, because I'm going to encourage you to write down most of these questions so you can begin to think about them and dwell in them and understand what's coming next. So let's talk about your vision, or the big idea. Really, it's what is it that you are building? And you want that to be as clear as you can, because as clear as your vision and understanding of your business and business idea, as clear as that is how clear and powerful your plan can be. So really, there are three questions to answer. That's what, where, and who. You know, what is the business? Where is the business, and who is the business gonna serve? And I will tell you before we get there, your homework between now and next week is going to revolve around your vision, okay? Then the second element is the mission statement, and that is, why does the business even exist? You know, what is it you're trying to accomplish? Why is it that your clients or customers would use or buy the products or services that your business provides? What value do those products or services provide to your clients or customers? Not just that it's a hot dog, but what value does that hot dog have to the person that buys it and eats it? And what unique benefits do the products or services of your business provide to your clients? Because if you're like most of us, the business that you go into is a business that there are other businesses very, very similar to them. And so you want to understand what's unique about your business as opposed to those businesses that are similar. Then the third thing, and then you want to answer the question in terms of mission, is what do you want to be in service of and why? You know, what passions are you trying to satisfy by building the particular business that you're interested in? What's the highest good or the greatest value that this business can achieve? Or as they say in commercial real estate, what's the highest and best use of that particular property? So the question you want to answer is, what's the highest and best use of your business? What values will you drive in your business, and who's going to benefit from your work, or who's going to benefit from your business? When you've answered those questions, you ought to have a clear, effective, powerful mission for your business. Then the third area is market research. And the first question is, what is your target market? Who is it that you intend to serve? Who do you want to buy your products and services? That's number one. And then once you're clear about that, what's the size of that market? Okay. I tell clients that I work with that it is more important that you understand your target market and who you want to be your clients than it is for you to even understand the products or services that you provide, because it'll be their needs that you're meeting. Secondly, what are the habits, the buying habits and the shopping habits of your customers? Okay, because that's what you're going to be interacting with. And then how much are your prospects willing to pay for your product or service? Okay, because there are two components in my experience relative to price. One, there's value. How much is it worth? The flip side, though, is how much can your prospect afford to pay? And so you want to be able to understand what your prospects would be willing to pay, so that you'll have that critical information when it comes to pricing the product or service that you're going to bring to the marketplace. After you get that research done, then the other element in research, is what and who is your competition? Who else is providing the same or similar products or services to the marketplace that you are? And what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses? That allows you to sort through and figure out and develop a competitive advantage. So after you've done your research, you know what your mission is, you have an understanding of what your vision is, you want to do what we call a SWOT analysis. It's very simple. You want to figure out and understand what your strengths are. And as I like to say, you can do something about your strengths, you can do something with your strengths. Then you want to understand what the weaknesses are for the same reason. You can do something about those, or you can do something with those. Then there are the opportunities. Now, opportunities are beyond your control. All you can do is prepare for them, react to them, take advantage of them, but you can't change them. And then threats, the same thing. You can prepare for those threats. You can figure out how you're going to react to them. But threats and opportunities are outside of your control. Strengths and weaknesses are within your control. Okay? And then after you've done your SWOT analysis, then you get into the numbers of it. You know, what are your startup costs for the business? Because on day one, you'll have costs. In fact, prior to day one, you'll have costs, and you may or may not have revenues at exactly the same time. You want to figure out, once you know how you're going to price your product and service, you know how many customers you're going to serve, what are the anticipated revenues for the business over what period of time? And then what are the fixed expenses in the business and what are the variable expenses in the business? The fixed expenses are those expenses that exist whether you sell anything or not. The variable expenses are the expenses that move up and down relative to the business's operations. And you want to figure out what they are so that you can plan for them accordingly. What is the timeline to profitability? It's highly probable that the day you start your business, your revenues won't support your expense. So you need to have an understanding of when your business will generate enough revenue to cover all the expenses and provide a net income or profit. And then the big tough question is, how will you fund the business until it can fund itself? So those are the questions that you would be pursuing the answer to in the development or the creation of your financial plan. Okay? Then you get into strategies and objectives, and I always put them together because some people like to think of objectives first and then strategies. Others like to think of strategies first and then objectives. But in terms of strategies, is how are you going to go about building this business? What will make this business successful over time? What will drive the results of the business in the desired direction? Okay, it's the how am I going to going to do this with my business? And then the objectives really revolve around what are the results in your business that you're going to measure. Now I've got a list here. It's not to suggest you have to measure business results in each of these areas. My intention is to demonstrate to you that there are multiple areas of business results that combine to produce the success of your business. And so you want to think about and plan those in advance so that you can in fact measure those, set targets for those, and run your business based on those objectives and those measurements. And then my favorite, what is the action plan? And that is what needs to be done to take that plan off of paper and turn it into a business. By when? So what are the timelines for that? And then by whom? Who's going to do what? That helps you understand and decide what resources you need to bring your business into existence and move your business to success, and so that you can prepare for those and develop those resources. So now those are the elements of a business plan. What I want to do is stop here, see what questions, if any, you have about any of the elements or the questions under those elements. And then I'm going to move to giving you your homework assignment relative to your business plan. So if there are any questions, if you would unmute your mic and speak, or Angie, if you would share with me questions in the chat, because I've got the slides up and I can't see the chat. I can't access the chat.
I'm delighted to be your wing woman tonight. There are several questions here. The first question came on pretty early. It's from Mahaligan, and the question is, who's my targeted audience for my business plan? Is it for potential lenders?
You want to address both if you're going to need, well, let me back up. What type of business do you have?
I don't see that here.
Yeah, if they could just unmute and speak, because I want to make sure I understand who lenders are in the question.
So, yeah, I said plan to start a service-oriented business. And Bill, I think where you were going is I typed in chat as a bit of an answer that, you know, in your business plan, ultimately you want to have who your customer is that you're going to serve. And that lenders, unless lenders are your end customer, which I think is what you're asking, right? Are you starting a business?
Yeah, I was about to answer the question one way.
It's
right.
engineering
Lenders can be customers.
Yeah. Engineering consulting. So take it away, Bill.
Okay, so if it's an engineering consulting business, you want your target market is your customers, the people that will buy your services. Okay. Now, if in doing engineering consulting, you'd have projects where you'd be doing the upfront cost of building or something, you would have to deal with lenders as a funding source, but your customer would be, and your target market would be those people or businesses that could utilize engineering services.
Bill.
Yes.
Could you go back? Slide on mission is a request. And then after that, if you could go back to the slide on strategies.
Okay. Oh, there was mission. Okay. On mission, there you go. Is there a question, or you just needed time to write what the questions are?
They were just trying to capture the last couple of
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Yes, so I'd give them another second or so. And then the other person is interested in strategies and objectives slide. That was Francesca.
Okay.
Give us another second or so,
Yeah.
and then we'll move on to the strategies and objectives. Here's an interesting question. Go ahead back to the strategy slide, Bill. The question, though, is, are all business plans the same, whether it's an LLC, a nonprofit, or a corporation?
Let me get there. Okay, so let me get these up and can answer questions. So the question is, are all business plans the same without regard to the type of business entity?
Correct.
Okay.
Structure.
The answer to that is yes, the business plans would be the same, whether it's a corporation, a sole proprietorship, an LLC. If it is a nonprofit, it'll be a little different. And one of the reasons that it will be different is your target market will need to include your funding sources, where you would go to in terms of donors or grants, foundations, etc. So the caveat is, if it's a nonprofit, you've really got two target markets. You've got who you're delivering the service to, but you've also got, as a target market, who you are interacting with to bring the funding to that nonprofit, because they have needs, etc., just like other customers. When they give a foundation gives a nonprofit a certain amount of money, it's because they're trying to fulfill on something they're committed to. And so to pick the right funding source or the right foundations, etc., you have a need of understanding them like you would a customer.
So Bill, here's another interesting question. What if you have 3 streams of income or in one niche? How would you separate these, or do we compile them all in one business plan?
If when we say 3 streams of income, you mean 3 different products or services that are of the same business, the answer is one thing. So for example, I had a business where I did personal coaching, I facilitated peer advisory groups, and I did training, okay? All those revenues were included together because those were 3 different services provided by the same business. If the streams of income are separate businesses, I would have a business plan for each of those streams of income.
And then here's a question, and then I think we might need to move on and come back to some of these. But this one is, where do you find funding until the business can fund itself? What is a good time frame? How long should you wait for a business to start funding itself?
Okay, I'm gonna defer answering that question. Now let me explain why, because when people ask questions, they want them answered, and I understand that. One, the focus tonight is just on the elements of the business plan. But secondly, I announced last week that we will be facilitating a number of roundtables around specific concerns, needs, and challenges. One of those roundtables will be funding. And so we will provide that schedule next week of when the roundtables for what topics will occur, and people that are interested can sign up and participate in those roundtables. But we would be able to deal with that set of questions in appropriate depth in the funding roundtable. And so I think that's the better place to answer it, as opposed to trying to give you an abbreviated answer now that probably wouldn't really get at what you want to know.
I think there's one here that we might want to address. This one is, how far should we expand our competition bracket?
I'm not, well, so if for example, the business I had was in the Triangle area, so I was only interested in business consulting firms in the Triangle. In addition, I worked with micro and small businesses. So the competition I was interested in understanding were business consulting firms that worked with micro and small businesses. So in other words, if they were a consulting firm and their clients were corporations, they really aren't my competition. So I didn't have to include them in my understanding of who plays in the market I play in. And that's the way I'd answer the question. Whoever plays in the market that you play in, doing what you do or something similar to what you do, that's the competition that you want to be interested. That's the competition you want to be interested in and understand. So gang, here's your homework. Tonight, this week's assignment is to think about and begin based on what you know now, begin to draft a business statement. A vision statement for your business. Now, I have two things under the assignment. One is a template. We'll put that in the resources, but I'm gonna suggest that you write it down right now, because what this does, this template allows you to focus on the things that make the biggest difference. So one is, what's the timeline of your vision, okay? And then what's your company? What size do you want that company to be in that period of time? Again, what's your market? Is it local, national, etc.? What kind of business are you? What are the 2 or 3 key products that or services that your business will provide? And what are the 2 or 3 key client or customers that you will serve? What that'll help you do is get focused, okay? And I'll show you, if you look at the highlighted part, you can see how this template works. So below it in highlighted is a vision statement, and that is, in the next 3 years, grow Acme Consulting into a $500,000 Triangle area business consulting company, providing client acquisition strategies and peer advisory groups to small business owners and sales professionals.
Can you repeat that, Bill? Someone is wanting to make sure they got the assignment.
Yeah, so the assignment is to take a shot at doing a first draft of a vision statement for your business. Now, some of you are really, really clear. Some of you, have a thought that I want to have a business in this kind of area. This will support you in flushing that out and focusing that, okay? And that's why I provide you the template, because it helps you focus on some key elements. All right?
I have a quick story to share on that. One of the objectives of this group with all of our experience is to give relevant example stories about things. It really makes it live when you think about the assignment Bill gave you, and someone who is a highly skilled consultant, entrepreneur, businessman. And then you think about someone with an idea that may not have a clue. And so when you don't know what you don't know, you don't even know what to ask. So one thing that a mentor said to me years ago is this: decide what is enough. And I was in my 30s, like late 20s, early 30s. There was no limit for me. It was infinity. And the disadvantage to that, there's a lot of optimism in that. The disadvantage to that, though, is you don't really have measures in place. So perhaps you never get satisfied or feel the success, and then burnout sets in. And so we all have enough in our minds. What is your number? Is it a dollar amount? Is it X number of clients? Is it the ability to leave a legacy? That is very critical to this vision statement, because this vision statement ties into who you are. And so you have to decide as the person, what is my end game? You know, we have a couple of people on here who have sold some pretty profitable businesses and are now doing something totally different. And so their end game was to grow it to a particular level and then move on. So just some food for thought that resonated to share with you tonight.
Yeah, very good. Okay. All right. Is there anybody that has any questions about their assignments, or Angie, are there any assignment questions in the chat?
No, I don't see any. I did write it down to everyone. I do see people looking for the template as well as screenshots. So I think we're clear, and I think we're good to move on when you guys are ready.
I would like to say to the group, these sessions are recorded, and you can go to the SCORE website and watch this session later. If you missed something, it should be up on the SCORE website by Monday. Freeman Jackson, who's our IT person with SCORE, is doing a wonderful job getting these out there. So if you missed something, it will be there, and you can go back and watch it and fast forward, whatever you need to do. So you won't lose any information or data. We're going to have that for you. Thank you.
Tonight, my assignment is to kind of pull back. There, as I've seen, we have a wide variety of people here. Some who are in deep in their businesses, and then others of you who are still trying to figure out how you're putting your business plan together. What does it really look like? So we've got, you know, both ends of the spectrum here. And so what I wanted to do was to kind of pull back and draw back at the very beginning to take a look at what it is that you're doing and how you're going to do what you're going to do. And just to kind of, as Dr. Angie so eloquently said, you know, decide how much is enough and where you stand. Because we can dream big and have great ideas, but if that's not a part of what's really going to drive us, what's going to really build us, we may be barking up the wrong tree. So what I want us to do is to focus, as you see on the screen here, it says focusing on your why and what happens when the going gets tough. And there are some things that we have to decide as we are building our businesses, as we're getting things together. What are we doing? How are we going to get it done? So we can go to the next slide. Okay, here we are. When you looked at the word why, you noticed there were dots behind the W, behind the H, and the Y. Because I'm breaking that down, and we're going to look at each letter as you're looking at your why. So our W, that question is, who am I impacting? And I think that should show up. I think I'd have pressed that on the screen. Yep.
Ah, okay.
Who am I impacting? And it starts with us. When we look at this, we have to look at, first of all, who are we as the business owner or the entrepreneur? We've got to look at ourselves, take a look at what it is that we are really going for. And that means you've got to sit down and sit back and say, what is it that I'm really going to do? And who is it really going to benefit? Because if you don't know who that person is that you're going to serve, you may be bringing them the wrong thing. What do I mean? If you are a waiter in the restaurant and you are not prepared to serve those customers, you may bring them the wrong order. We've got to remember who it is that we're going to be serving. What do they look like? What do you know about the people that you're going to do business for? What are the clients? Where do you find them? What do they look like? And you're saying, wait a minute, how do I determine this? You determine it by what it is that you know you have been, for lack of a better word, born to do. Once you determine that, then you look at, who am I called to serve? And when you're looking at who they are, this can be an assignment for you, and this will go, you'll see what it looks like as we go further on down in what I'm sharing with you. But you want to know, where do you find that person? You want to know, are they on social media? And if they're on social media, are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? Do you find them on Pinterest? Do you find them on Periscope? Because you see, you want to be able to find that person that you serve. You've got to be able to know, where do I find those people that are going to best benefit by what I have? It's not enough for us to say, this is what I'm going to do. And you know, when people, they get their degrees, they get a law degree and they pass the bar, they don't just put out a sign, put out a shingle and says, you know, my name Esquire, I'm here for you. No, they've got to know who it is they're going to serve. And so for you and I, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, we've got to know who it is that we're serving. Now let's draw back just a little bit. What's the age range? Are they male, female? Where do they live? What kind of cars do they drive? What are they interested in? Do they read? And I don't mean that to be funny, but some people don't like to read. They rather watch a video, because people learn differently. Some are auditory, some are visual, some are a little bit of both. But the people that you're called to serve, what do they embody? Where do they shop? All of these things are very critical in determining how you're going to be able to find those people you serve. And you say, now, what does this have to do with well-being? Well, see, when you're too busy doing everything for everybody, you are expending energy and losing time. But if you take the time to do the work in the background, when you step out, you are actually becoming more focused on the people you are supposed to serve and how you're supposed to find them. It's a whole lot easier, and I'm sure we know, it's a whole lot easier to grab our phone and get the GPS to know where we're going, as opposed to, I'll figure it out. We don't want to just figure it out. We want to know who it is that we're impacting and how we find them, where are they located, and be sure about what we've been called to do. What have we really been equipped to do? Because there are certain things that we're equipped to do that and other things that we're not, that we need to know. We need to farm those things out so that we can focus on the things that we know we're supposed to be accomplishing. So let's look at the letter H. How am I going to do it? How am I going to accomplish this particular assignment, because it is an assignment. We've got to look at what we do as a business more than just a business, more than just something that's going to earn us some money, because we've got to realize that we are spending a majority of our hours in a day doing this particular thing. And don't we want to do something that is satisfying? Don't we want to do something that is going to bring us what we need and also provide for other people the satisfaction of what we have brought to bear? When you think about when you spend hours travel, well, now we're not traveling so much. Those of us who are now have been kind of brought back home. But at the time, I know from my husband, he was traveling an hour to work and an hour from work. That hour time, and then the 8 hours that you spend in the workplace. And don't talk about overtime. Don't talk about if something goes wrong and you've got to have an extra, you have to go in on a Saturday. This takes away from other things that you're doing with family, which is very important, which is your own rest time and taking care of yourself, which is very important. So how you're going to do it is going to be very critical so that you bring the most value to those you serve and the most satisfaction to yourself as the one who is giving the service. So it's going to be very important that we know exactly how we're going to do what we're going to do. We've got to become very laser focused in moving in the direction we're supposed to go. We have got to be the type of people that we become synonymous with our name. If you hear the name Serena Williams, what do we think about? If we hear the name Michael Jordan, what do we think about? If we hear the name Tim Tebow, what do we think? When you hear the names, what immediately comes to mind? So now the question is, say your name. And when you say your name, what is that name synonymous with? What are people going to know you for? And that is why we need to be very clear in what we're doing and how we're going to do it, because people need to know us for who we are. We've got to get to the point where people are looking for us because we are so laser focused in what we've been called to do and how we are doing what we are doing. We've got to be the people that make the right connections at the right time, doing the right thing. Now, here we go. In how we're going to do it. What are the people that you are going to, now this session right here and these sessions right here, this is one of the things that's answering the how. Because you're putting yourself in a space to get the resources that are necessary for you to be able to build your business and build it properly. Also, while you're here, you have an assignment. Yes, Bill gave you an assignment. He did. But I want you to take upon yourself, as you're looking through through our chat list, what people can you connect with? What kinds of connections can you make here where it helps you in how you're going to do what you're going to do? You see, no man is an island, and we're not built to do things all on our own. There may be some other people in here that you connect with, that you can build businesses with, that you can glean from. That is going to be a very important thing to do, that we're not coming in here just to learn for ourselves, but there's someone in here that I know we can connect with and build with. Then the next thing is the resources. What resources are you going to tap into to make your job or your journey more palatable? We don't need to be reinventing the wheel. If someone has already done something, don't feel as though, well, I have to do it my way alone because nobody's building the business like I am. We want to be able to grab those resources and incorporate the things that work for us. I say all of that because what we need to be doing is focusing on making the most of our time. You see, all of these things are leading to you not having to expend as much energy so that you can focus on the bigger picture. And that's going to be vitally important. Now, our last slide. Yearning. Yearning. That's the why. We have got to have that feeling of intense longing. We've got to want it bad enough that we're going to continue to move. We've got to want it bad enough that when we're feeling tired, we're feeling overwhelmed, we're feeling like we don't want to get up out of the bed, but because that thing is inside of us, it is something that pushes us to keep moving. But it can only happen when you have first determined, this is what I know I've been called to do. This is why I'm here. This is the thing that you will do that if you did not get paid for it, you would do it. But none of us are going to say no to the check. But we want to be able to know that this is what we've been assigned to do. It should be something more than just money. Because as I put in the very first slide, the question was, who are you called to impact? And we want to make an impact no matter what it is that we do. We want to impact the lives of those that we've been called to serve. And lastly, I know we have talked about vision boards and we've had vision board parties and people have put up, you know, this is what I'm gonna do. And it's been rah-rah and it's been great. And I've done it myself. But one thing I learned about a vision board is this. I looked up the word vision. The word vision is the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. The vision board itself, it's a collage of images, words representing a person's wishes or goals intended to serve as inspiration or motivation. And all of those words are absolutely wonderful. I love those words. But those words don't move you. I say, where's your doing board? Where is your doing board? That word doing is the activities in which a person engages in. It's the act of performing and executing. Performing is something you see someone doing. You look on a stage, they are performing. They're not standing motivated. No, they're actually moving and engaged. We engage in watching them. And they are actually performing. They're actually showing something to us. That takes a great deal of doing. So I want to encourage you to be doing. So in our listing, when you've been told by Bill, you've got your assignment, I've got an assignment for you. That as you're looking at what it is that you are to be doing, I want you to get yourself a notebook, but not just any notebook. I want you to get yourself a notebook that you can, that has a hard cover because I don't want it to be flimsy. It's got to be a hardcover, something like this. The reason I say that it's a hardcover, because I need for you to be carrying it with you. And I need you to have Post-it notes. And what I want you to do is write down every task that you need to accomplish. And each task goes on one Post-it note. And that goes on one page in your book. The reason I say that is because in every task that you have to do, there is a list of other things that need to be done to make sure you complete that task. This is what is a doing board, because you're actually creating something that you are actually going to see come to fruition. Not something you're necessarily dreaming about, but something that you are actually going for. And so that book, in that book, you list every single task that you need to accomplish. And it helps to frame your mind. And it helps to keep you focused on what it is you need to get done. What are those important things that need to be done in building your business? From the articles of incorporation to getting money from the lender. You want to list what is it that you need to do to accomplish your tasks and to bring your business to the place that you know it needs to be. What this also does is it breaks it down into bite-sized pieces so that no one gets overwhelmed. Yes, there are so many people, there are people that they can run like the Energizer Bunny, but then there are others that get overwhelmed because there's so much to do. But when you make it into bite-sized pieces and give yourself a day and time that you're going to accomplish these things, that doing board gets done. And so that's what I wanted to share with you all this evening. And I want to open it up for questions or comments, anything that you all would like to share. Feel free.
Darlene, one thing, a couple things came up that I wanted to bring out. One thing is the importance of, because some people want to just jump into a business, right? And it's so important to be able to get really clear on why you're starting the business, the role the business will play in your life, and to ask the right questions, right? Because sometimes I'll hear, I just want to make a lot of money. I just want to make some money. And then I ask, well, why? What do you think the money's going to afford you? Well, freedom. So what you actually want is freedom, right? So you may be driving for money and money and money and sacrificing your quality of life when that wasn't really what you were going after. So my invitation is to really get clear on what the underlying driving desires are for you in your business. Is it freedom? Is it creativity? Is it connection? Is it impact? Whatever it is it innovation? Get clear on what that underlying drive is, because tethering your vision to that underlying drive is what's going to get you through the uncomfortable times that are inevitable as you're building something of impact. So that was, right. that was one thing.
Those 5 whys.
Right. The other thing was something that I learned early on when I was starting my own business a few years ago, is to make sure that if I'm selling water, sell water to thirsty people who have money. To not just thirsty people and not just people with money, but sell water to thirsty people with money. So when you're thinking about who you're serving, what market you're going into, who your target market is, and some of these things we'll get into more depth about, it's really important to think about, because, you know, in the beginning, I was really selling to a lot of thirsty people, but they didn't have money. So I couldn't, you know, so I was constantly hustling. It wasn't a sustainable business.
Correct.
Right. And you could just as easily sell to people with money, but they don't value what you have. They don't need what you have. So they're not going to buy it. So you have to have both pieces. So that was really helpful for me when you're thinking about this business plan, to make sure you're targeting people who need what you have and can pay for it.
Absolutely. That
Right?
is so critical.
Yeah.
That is very critical. They've got to be able to pay, and they've got to need what you have.
Right.
And the bottom line is, that's why I say you've got to be clear on who it is you've been called to serve and what it is you have to serve them with. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then with the doing board, I'm a huge fan of taking action. I'm so glad you said that. Because I also work with a lot of folks who spend a lot of time spinning in the planning phase, in the visioning phase, and are resistant to the action because action is challenging. And my invitation is to think of it kind of like an equation, like the number, if you're thinking about pitching something to someone or selling something to someone, it's kind of like the number of offers you make minus the no's equal the yeses. So the way to get to more yeses is you make more offers.
Make more offers.
And then the no's, you'll get more no's when you make more offers, absolutely. But in those no's, you're going to get so much information about are they thirsty and do they have money?
Do they have money?
Right. So you need that information feedback to further refine your business plan. So you need that information. So if we can think about it that way, that I just need to take more action, because in the taking of more action, I'm actually getting closer to something popping off. Then you don't get so afraid of the no's, because the no's are not no's. They weren't the right person, or it wasn't the right offer. It's one of those two things.
Getting you closer to the yeses.
Right. And that information is what you need. No's are information.
Yeah. It's just like we were saying, last week, right? And, I really want to kind of emphasize this, I guess, throughout for people that, the mistakes, the failures, the no's, all those, while inherently, as people, we take those personally, especially when it's your business, you feel your baby.
Yeah.
And you hear a no or a rejection or something like that. But if you get in the mentality of that's information, not rejection, then it'll change your outlook on getting all those no's. I led salespeople for many, many years. And the most successful salespeople that I led got so many no's, and they embraced rejection because they knew that if they got 50 no's, I'm going to get 5 yeses.
Right.
If they hit 20 no's and got demoralized, they might make 1 sale. Right. But they just knew that getting after it was information, feedback, and move on. And I think what you're saying, take action. And Darlene, what you're saying about being organized is really critical. And when I first started my business, I put a link in the chat. I started swirling, and one of the first things I did was, 1, I called SCORE, which is why I'm here today. And 2, somebody sent me this video, Simon Sinek, very popular, right? But they sent me the why, because I was really swirling on, I had all these great ideas, but they didn't really mesh into one succinct, good business plan. But I was passionate about them all. And so this person let me step back and say, okay, what is the one thing that drives you? What is your why? And I was swirling over that. What do you mean, what's my why? And he said, look, I'm going to send you a video. I want you to watch that. And that helped dial me in. If I had been in the state of mind that I was in then, sitting through this session now, it would have dialed me in. So it's critical to really think about this as we go through the journey here of building our business. Because if you're doing your why and you're understanding your why, those tough times, you're going to have the energy because it's your passion. It's leveraging your strengths. It's pulling everything together. So you're going to be able to get through those tough times a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Hey, that is absolutely right. As you were saying that, you all know I was a home care nurse and had a home care agency for many years. And there were some tough days. And those were the times when I would think back, but I'm doing this because I want to serve. Some of the people that I'm serving, they can't do this for themselves. So my number is up. I'm up to help these people. So if I reoriented myself with my vision and my mission, then I would go, okay, this is hard today, but I will keep moving forward because I'm here to serve these people, and I'm going to help them because I have access to resources and information that they may not have, and then I could push forward. So you really need that why and that purpose, because that's what is going to keep you from going into the floor. You may fall on the floor, but you keep back up.
You'll bounce back faster,
Bounce
right?
back
Bounce off the floor. Well, I want to
Right.
point out. So Marianne has a really good question here. You know, in some industries like spas, you know, would you offer more menus? Was that cause analysis paralysis? You know, restaurants. You know, when people tell me they want to go eat at the Cheesecake Factory, I don't know if everybody here is eating at the Cheesecake Factory.
20 pages.
That menu.
It's a book. It's a book.
Well, yeah, it's a book.
It
It's a
actually
book.
defies what I helped a restaurateur once, and it defies what restaurateurs tell you to do. It's too much. You want tacos, you want pizza, you want Chinese food. That's too much. You know, what I would say is, so my wife is a wellness coach, massage therapist, and she owned her own business. And kind of going to, you know, analysis paralysis and having too much, what she did was she figured out what she likes to do. She wanted to help people who had conditions, recovering from cancer, you know, coming back from PTSD or, you know, very rough injuries, right? And then she started to narrow that down because the menu could have been a mile wide, but she decided that I want to specialize in these areas. I want to be known for these areas. I want to be an expert in these areas. And everybody in this community is going to know that I am really, I'm the person to see if you're going through chemo. I'm the person to see if you've just been in a car wreck. And that's how she started to build out her menu, so to speak. So I would say that, you know, really, again, it comes down to the business plan. Your menu and your services should link to what it is you are wanting to do for your customer. And the analysis paralysis can come in if you try to be a mile wide and an inch deep. And whenever I've seen people try to do a mile wide and an inch deep, they're not successful, at least until they realize they need to rein things in. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, Jay, another way to answer the question, to recast it inside the business plan, is what's to offer is a function of your target market. You remember one of the questions under market research was, you know, what do your customers value or need? So I'm not absolutely familiar with Cheesecake Factory's strategy, but my suspicion is the reason they decided to serve such a wide range is because I bet their target market are families and groups, and everybody's not going to want to eat the same thing. And there aren't many places you can go and everybody can have something very different. So my suspicion is they were guided very much by what they decided their target market is and their understanding of their target market.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I would say would guide you as to whether you have a lot of service offerings or a targeted set of service offerings would be determined by your target market.
That's right. Yeah.
I just see a question here in the chat from Dr. Burdell, I think, asking if lenders lend money based on an industry. Like, I think he's saying, is there a bank that will concentrate on healthcare or whatever. I would say when you write that business plan, if you can show that you will be educating that lender most of the times. Now, you may run into a loan officer that's loaned money to healthcare business people, and they may get it right away. But should you get someone who hasn't, your business plan is going to educate them. And if they see you thought that plan through fully, and you hit all the points that they know are the triggers for making money or not making money, and you show the numbers, then you've educated them and you will probably get that loan. But your business plan should be prepared to address a lender who knows nothing about healthcare or one who does. Because if you show that plan and you show the numbers and they see you thought it through, because you're going to put that in the plan, you will more than likely get that loan, and you will have educated that lender for others who may follow, or when you come back for a bigger loan later on.
Yeah. In addition to that, Patty, another thing that would be helpful is lenders, that is people that are loaning money. This is not the case for investors, but lenders tend not to lend money for working capital. They lend money for things that they can own if the business is not successful. So they'll loan money for building, for equipment, etc. They tend not to loan money for payroll, so to speak. They're not operating expenses. And that's a key distinction when you are deciding that you want your funding source to be borrowed money.
Most lenders will, they want to see how much skin you have in the game. If they see you put your own money in and you are making that work and you're showing a progression, a good progression, you're building on that, then they may assist you with payroll. If you are heavy in an industry and you have lots of employees like I did, payroll was my largest expense. So when I started my business, I needed money for payroll right up front, but I got the smallest amount. Well, that's all they would really give me was a small amount, which was enough to last me about 1 month. Because I knew that as I billed my vendors, that within 30 days, money would start to come in. So because my payroll was a huge factor, they did loan me money for that. But I had to really show that things worked out and that I was moving forward and building in the way that they wanted me to. And I didn't have to go back for another loan because I made that work. And when my funds started to come in, because they were like 30, 45 days, I was able to move forward by building my business slowly. From my business plan, I knew I couldn't go out and hire 25 people the first month. I had to do it so slowly. I hired 2 people the first month, 2 the second month, because that's what I could afford to do. And I showed that in my business plan, that I had to do it very slowly. So just be sure that you show that you know how your cash flow is, and they may give you money for that payroll or operating expenses, but you're going to have to show them quickly that you understood what you were doing and that the plan that you wrote is workable, that it's going to work out.
Yeah, there's the other method too. You know, I know there's a lot of questions around lending. The other thing too is, you know, if you're building a business, maybe while you're still working a job, and you put money aside, you're putting money aside for that. There's also the bootstrapping method, which essentially is, you know, save, get yourself started, save to a certain point, make money, expand, make money, expand, and you kind of build that way. And some people use that method if they can, and it also depends on the business too, if you can do that. I mean, you know, that may work for certain services, maybe something like consulting. It's what I did. But some people will take that route. versus lending if they can. All right. So do we have any other questions here?
I don't see any questions. I do see an interesting statement from Amber Stanley. She was recently on a webinar that used the Cheesecake Factory as an example. In an interview with the CEO, he revealed, or she revealed, it was he, that was trying to make the competition irrelevant by having everything on the menu. He said he didn't recognize at the time how hard it would be for his wait staff to have to remember all those items. I think
Yeah.
that's a valuable lesson learned when you think about it. It worked for this gentleman, obviously, and he probably didn't think about how overwhelming the menu would be, but they were brilliant when they made all those varieties of cheesecake. Because that's why people really go there. They go for the cheesecake. The menu is a sidebar. You know it's overwhelming, and I kind of don't like going there because of that. Or I get the same thing because I don't want to go there, but I know what cheesecake I'm going to get.
Yes. Well, it's kind of like this. I think about a place like that. If they make that many different foods, do they do it well? How many things can you do in excellence every day, all the time?
Mm-hmm.
I also think this about restaurants that stay open 24 hours. I always used to say this about some of those. I'm not going to call their names. But if you're open for 24 hours, when do you really clean?
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought about. When do you never shut down? So when do you really clean the place? So trying to do too much all the time, never stopping, you can do it, but it may set you into some type of a trap if you do that.
Well, one of the things that I think they do is this, Dr. Angie, you said it. There are maybe 3 items that I know that whenever I go to the Cheesecake Factory, those are the 3 items. One of those 3 is what I'm going to order. And I always order the same dessert. I don't eat cheesecake. So there's one same dessert I always order. And I think what happens is they have probably, even though it has like 25, 30 pages, I am pretty sure, like you said, Patty, they don't do all of those because they could not do all of them extremely well. But I'm finding that when we find out what our niche is and we can excel in that, that's what will keep our doors open, and that's what will keep people still coming to us. And Patty, I know that you did a phenomenal job when you started, so people kept coming because of the services that you offered. And that's why it grew, because they saw the professionalism, the excellence, and all that you brought to bear, because it was something that came out of your heart to serve.
Yeah, that would see me crying in the office.
I was gonna bring that point back to Jay. You spoke about bootstrapping. It's practically how I've launched and survived in all 13 businesses that I've started, was through bootstrapping. Capital wasn't available to me. Many of us is not available to us. But if you can get that one client, like Patty referenced, and you serve that client with the best ability you have, they'll come back again and again and again, and then they'll refer you. And yes, it may take you longer to finance your business because there are lots of constraints to going that route, but it works. But you really have to love what you're doing. There's a question here that I think, Bill, you might want to take this one. It talks about, the question is, do lenders actually read the entire business plan?
I really can't say that they do or they don't. I can say that they are most interested in whatever is in the business plan showing in the numbers, in the financial analysis. So they do or do not read it, but the very kinds of things that lead to success that Patty has articulated so well, they want to see that show up in the numbers. And if they can see that, you know, vibrant business in the numbers, because that's their world. They live in numbers. So that's what they understand real well. I'm not going to say understand best or only understand, but they're familiar with numbers.
I'd like to add to that, just to say that, Patty, I'm sure when you started way back when, business plans were 20, 30 pages. In today's world, they're getting smaller and smaller. And in fact, now there's the whole business canvas where there's 9 buckets or categories on a 1-pager. And you plug all that in, and that's really what the investor lender wants to see. It forces you to narrow it down to what are you really good at? What is it that you really want to do? It's hard. But if you can do it, it works, and you can do it. I'm seeing a lot of people, Patty, who have already reached out to SCORE. Several people have had successful meetings. We're glad to hear that. Some of them have submitted business plans that they're getting help with, and so they're commenting and sharing this. And then so Dr. Burdell comes again, and he's asking, can your business plan qualify for a line of credit versus traditional lending, or is a line of credit for established businesses only?
I will tell you, Dr. Burdell, I finally did get a line of credit. But by the time I got that, the bank came looking for me.
Right.
And I'm still mad about that. Because they waited until I had had my business for 5 or 6 years, and I bought my own condo and I was doing well. So they sent this little girl to my office and they said, hey, look what we can do for you. We'll give you this big line of credit, and we'll give you this, this, and this. And I went ahead and accepted it, but I said, where were you all 5 years ago when I was working full time and trying to run the business? And finally, that now my head's above water. But that's typically how they do it. I didn't go seeking a line of credit, but evidently they didn't think I was worthy until my business was established. So that was just the bank I dealt with. I don't know what it would be like for you. Does anyone else have any input on that?
Yeah, Patty, that's pretty descriptive of banks. And the thing I would continue to add to that, investing and lending are different things. Investors intend to take on risk. Lenders don't intend to take on risk. And so to your point, they show up when you don't need the money. That's the best person for them to loan money to. I mean, we joke about that frequently among business owners that I know, is that when you need the money, they won't give it to you. And when you don't need the money, they'll give you more than you ever dreamed of.
Absolutely. Well, we know that the financial side of the business is almost everything, because if you don't have the money to run your business, then sometimes you stop or you can't grow. So we want to help you all pull these business plans together so that whatever is available out there as far as money, from if it's a bank or if it's an investor, that you're going to need to show them that you know that business, that you know what the risks are, that you're willing to be in it for the long haul. And if things start to go in a direction that's not where you want it to go, that you're willing to pick it back up and change direction, because failure is not an option. When I went into my business, I did not have the option to fail. I couldn't even think about it. I had to succeed. So I had to do everything I needed to do to make sure it was successful on some level. It was more successful than I thought it would be, but I knew I couldn't fail because I had put myself on the line. Most of you are going to do that too. And based on what Darlene told us tonight, with commitment, if you know that you're committed to that business and you will not allow it to fail, if something starts to go awry, you're gonna go find people to help you to set that thing back on course. You'll find a Bill Davis, a Jay Gray. Some of you on the line do that. You'll find someone and they will help you to correct where you're going or tell you what you need to do. And if you get in that situation, don't let it fail. Go find someone for help. There's plenty of people that can help you. There's scores there. There's resources that are all over town that will help with businesses. Some with just women, minorities, or just in general. So everything may not go the way you plan, but be prepared to redo, rebuild, but stay on your feet. And if you fall to your knees, jump right back up.
Very good. Very good. Well, I am going to go ahead and talk about next week. So next week, we're going to dig deep into the company's mission, vision, and goals, and how to achieve your goals and be successful. So we'll dig deep into this area because your mission and vision, Bill went through, the elements of that, but it also really does tie to that why that we talked about tonight. This is going to be critical because it becomes sort of your spirit guide, if you will, for your business. And it's the thing that you'll reflect back on as a tire starts to wobble in your business. You'll reflect back on this. You'll also build goals around it, and you'll also build milestones around it. So we're going to go in depth next week on this. I put the links in the chat box. Let's see, we have a question here about the homework and where to send that. Bill, I don't know if do you have any thoughts on sharing that?
Yeah, you don't have to send it. I'm going to ask that you bring it to next session, and we'll give some of you an opportunity to share your vision statement.
Yeah.
If you'd like somebody to look at it, send it to my email address. I'll be glad to look at your vision statement and comment on it for you. So yeah. As soon as I take the slides down and I can see the chat box, I will put my email address into the chat box for you.
Sounds good. And also, somebody did ask earlier about being able to share their business plans. And one of the things that we intended to do is to be able to allow people to share their plans either in breakout groups where we will be able to talk as peers, as well as have some of us in that room with you. So you will have an opportunity to go through your business plan towards the end of the session, so that we make sure that we're covering any gaps, any questions that we may not have answered throughout our next couple of weeks here. So you will get that opportunity to be able to Shark Tank, but without the Shark Tank. So with that, I believe that is our last slide.
Oh, yep.
That's it, Bill. So yeah, we will go ahead and we'll get Bill's as soon as he's done getting to the chat, getting out of the slides. We'll get his information in there.
If you want, Bill, just call it out. I'll type it in here.
No, I'm good now, finally.
Also, if you need to send something and you don't have Bill's address, my email address is on all of the information that you have. So if it comes to me, I will get it to Bill in case you miss his email address. What a great group we have tonight.
Yeah.
What a great group. It's so good to see all of you. And As they said before, many of you have come back, and we're so glad to have you. I see some people that I talked to earlier today, Amber being one of them. I got a nice note from Talitha Fool earlier. So I've been in communication with a lot of you. You've been great about emailing, and I try to get back to you. So just keep going, everybody. Let us know what you need in the chat. I'm going through the chat. Bill Davis is helping me. We're pulling out the things that you need. We're gonna make this program what you need it to be. We have gotten quite a few messages about the need for networking and wanting to network. So Bill has a plan for that. If you all want to network and you need networking, we will find a way to make that happen.
Yep.
Put the things in the chat that you need. We see lots of opportunity for us to help you and move forward. We want to give you exactly what you came for, or if you came for something that we didn't think of, tell us. We will build it for you and do the best that we can so that you can accomplish your goals.
And again, next week we will publish the topics and schedules for the roundtables. We'll run a roundtable every week after next week and through the end of the program. So that's like 9 roundtables that you can participate in one or as many of them as you'd like, depending on what your interest is.
And if you'd like to, tonight, if you have an idea of a roundtable that you think would be very beneficial to you, why don't you put that in the chat tonight?
Drop it in the chat.
Drop that in the chat. If yours is competition, or we know funding is one of them, we know that networking is one. So if there's something that's a burning desire for you that you just haven't been able to get anyone to help you with, let us know.
And I'd like to, while we're closing out here, thank you for many of you who heard our request last week to add a specific name to your profile here on Zoom. We still do have a number of people who have something like iPhone or iPad. If you need information from us, we're unable to get it to you without a valid email address or a name even, because we do have a participants list for that, which does provide your information. Also, it would be helpful if you would go out to the website and register so that we have this count here. We're very grateful and honored to have such great participation this late in the day. We just really appreciate your participation, and we're glad to be here for you.
Yeah, and I'm putting the link to the videos one more time in the chat.
Thank you.
So that
Dr. Wood, are you still with us? Dr. Wood from Shaw, the Dean of the School of Business, was with us earlier. So she was with us listening. So we were so happy to have her. She's been very supportive of us. The whole university has been supportive of our program. And we know that many of you may have connections to Shaw. In fact, Angie and Darlene are graduates of Shaw.
Shaw you.
So thank you so much. Are there any other items we need to cover tonight?
Patty, Dr. Wood is still here. She typed in the chat, yes. Dr. Wood,
yes, if she'd like to say something.
Okay, I guess I have a bad connection, but I wanted you all to know that I've been listening the whole time, and I will listen again when I have more time, because I didn't want to miss anything as I was going around this evening. But it's been a pleasure, and I know that the people on this call are going to benefit. And what I'd like to do is at the end, maybe we could check back and have a reunion, maybe to find out what happened with the people who took advantage of these 13 weeks. And I also mentioned to my husband how dedicated each of you on this team is to take 13 weeks in a row to provide such valuable service to your community.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you, Dr. Wood.
Thank you, Dr. Wood.
I love the idea of having a cohort reunion. I
Yeah,
love
that sounds
idea.
great.
Yes,
Because,
that
you know,
sounds wonderful.
one of the things, if we certainly, you know, give it a quarter or so, you'll have information, you'll have lessons, you'll have progress, you'll have faced challenges. And I think it would make sense to bring everybody back to be able to talk about those, maybe help you for the next iteration of your business. So great idea.
So is everyone clear on what we're doing next week? Is there something they need to think about coming into next week?
Bill's homework sets them up perfectly for the discussion that we're going to be having next week.
Okay.
So yeah, as long as they get that, Bill, I'll reach out and do a debrief with you and kind of get a flavor for what you're seeing. And as I'm adding to the material and customizing it, that information will allow me to make sure that I kind of can address specifics for the group. So do the homework.
Beautiful.
And you'll be fine.
Well, thank you all so much. It feels like saying goodnight to family. So you next week. We're excited. Have a good rest of the week, and we will see you next Thursday at 6 p.m.
We hope you enjoyed Session 3 and found it informative. Over the last 3 sessions, the foundation has been laid for your business plan success. As we move into Session 4, expectations are that you begin to become laser focused on the content and your business plan. Also, do not pass on the opportunity to review the program's resource guide, which is listed on the Raleigh Score website. Up next is Session 4, which is now open for registration. Simply go to raleigh.score.org and click on the Take a Workshop tab located in the top section of the page and register today. The date for Session 4 is September 24th at 6 p.m. The session title is How to Develop Your Company's Mission, Vision, and Goals to Achieve Success. In this session, we'll discuss how to develop a clear and compelling mission and vision for your business, in addition to establishing key actions needed to fulfill mission and vision, and the importance of tracking your progress and much, much more. Jay Graves and Sharon Shelton will be your facilitators for Session 4. We look forward to working with you in the upcoming sessions, and please keep in mind that we are here to assist and direct you along your journey. Until then, have a wonderful day.